This is Democracy Now! We are breaking with convention. I'm Amy Goodman. As we turn to one of the growing number of young black progressives likely headed to Congress this November, Cori Bush won a stunning primary upset earlier this month over 10-term incumbent Congressmember William Lacy Clay, whose family has represented the St. Louis area congressional district for more than 50 years. Cori Bush is a single mother and a nurse. She was formerly homeless, was a leader in the 2014 Ferguson uprising over the police killing of 18-year-old Michael Brown. Just 2 months before Michael Brown's death, her primary opponent, Congressman Lacy Clay, then Missouri's representative, voted against a Democratic amendment that would stop the military from providing police forces with heavy weapons and vehicles. She was endorsed by the Justice Democrats and the Sunrise Movement. Senator Bernie Sanders was the only member of Congress to endorse her ahead of the election, and her grassroots campaign shunned corporate PAC money in favor of individual donations. But she had an army of supporters who made 500,000 calls and knocked on 25,000 doors. This is Cori Bush addressing supporters after her primary victory August 5th.
Almost 6 years ago to this day, Mike Brown was murdered.
Yes.
Murdered by the police in the streets of Ferguson, Missouri. I was maced and beaten by those same police officers in those same streets. 6 months from now, as the first black congresswoman in the entire history, this summer, after George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Nina Pop, and so many more were taken from us.
Yes.
Millions of people are taken to the streets around the world to join us, to join those who had said for years, starting in this place, that Black Lives Matter.
Yes, that's Cori Bush speaking through her purple face mask. She is a nurse, after all, on primary night and joining us now from St. Louis. Welcome to Democracy Now! Cori Bush, it's great to have you with us. Can you talk about this incredible upset? You had challenged Congressmember Clay in 2018. You narrowly lost, but you are back at it again and won.
Yes, I mean, thank you for having me on. Look, this thing was an effort from people all across our district, across the state of Missouri, and across the country. You know, we believed that it was time for a change. It's time for an active leader, someone who knows the streets, someone who knows the struggle of what's happening in our country, especially with COVID-19 and how that's devastated communities. And then with the protests, you know, with me being a nurse and me being someone who's come out of the protest movement, you know, it's time for that voice.
Are you for defunding the police, and what does that mean to you?
I am for defunding the police, and for me, it's a reallocation of funds. Doesn't mean the police won't have money to pay their bills and pay their salaries. It doesn't mean that, you know, they won't be funded. What it means is that there won't be areas of overfunding while we have areas of underfunding in other places, such as making sure that there is money for our human services in our community, money for social programs, money for health and hospitals. When COVID-19 hit our community, you know, our unhoused population, you know, you know, they weren't in a position to be able to really be cared for properly. And then also, what about why do our police officers have to be social workers instead of paying social workers? We have people that go to school for that type of work. Why don't we have more social workers? And we don't need money for tear gas. We don't need money for rubber bullets and bear mace and all of that. We don't need to stockpile SWAT gear. We need to make sure that people have their needs met. And so that's one way of doing it.
You talk about all the militarization of the police. We certainly saw that in Ferguson, which was seminal in your rise as an activist. Can you talk about that? I mean, you live right near where Michael Brown was gunned down.
Yes, and you know what, the thing is, you know, I grew up watching civil rights footage and you know, and it was kind of like, this thing is over with, like, you know, like you're free now, do whatever you want, but then the reality was that wasn't true. And when we saw this 18-year-old, my son is 20, when we saw this, so I'm calling Michael Brown a baby, when we saw this 18-year-old baby lying in the street for 4.5 hours in the hot St. Louis sun, uncovered, and just the idea that he deserved justice and we couldn't get it, so yeah, we took to the streets, and there was no playbook before that said, hey, this is what you do if this happens in your community during your time. We showed up and we reacted. And we kept that thing going. We protested more than 400 days. Look, people were beaten, like I said before, tear gas, mace, rubber bullets. Real bullets were flying, but we kept coming back. I myself was assaulted, by police during that time. Not being a violent person, me personally, I'm nonviolent. I'm not peaceful, but I'm not violent. But violent came back at me. But you know what? We stood in 2017 after the verdict from Jason Stockley after the murder of Anthony Lamar Smith in St. Louis, and then also again for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many others. We continue to stand because Black lives have to matter in this country. And the only way that shows, one way that shows, is when we have equity and when we have our police treating Black people the same way that other people in this country are treated. We deserve respect.
I want to ask you about the Democratic ticket. Brianna Joy Gray, the former National Press Secretary for Bernie Sanders 2020, tweeted last week, "We're in the midst of the largest protest movement in American history, the subject of which is excessive policing, and the Democratic Party chose a top cop and the author of the Joe Biden crime bill to save us from Trump. The contempt for the base is wow." Your thoughts both on Senator Harris being chosen to be the VP nominee and Joe Biden himself, Cori Bush.
Yeah, so, that was Joe Biden had it was his pick and he chose her. Now, what, I've said before, I'm not going to tear down another woman of color. I won't be party to that. But, I can't overlook her past. And, she has evolved in some ways. And so I applaud her for that, but we can't forget about the people that were hurt along the way. People our incarcerated community, our Latinx community, and, what about our single parents and our unhoused communities that have gone through so many things because of decisions that she has made. So I can't just overlook that because I'm one of those people. I may not have been living in California, but I've gone through so many of those things myself. So I can't, you can't just leave us bleeding in the street and now everything is great because somebody else has figured it out, So what do we do for those people? So I'm standing with those people. I do applaud her though for her success. All the young girls and all our elder women that are looking, saying, finally we have somebody that could possibly be going into, the VP spot. I applaud, we honor that, but we won't leave behind people that needed that voice at that time. So I'm going to be here for them. And as far as Joe Biden, that's the person who became the Democratic nominee, the presumptive nominee. So that's who we're going to rock with. And I'm saying rock with it. We have to get Donald Trump out. And the thing is all of those people those different groups that I just named, we're also groups of people that will be hurt more under a Trump administration another 4 years because he's been wilding out. He's been doing whatever he wanted to do basically for the last 4 years. So what can we expect with 4 more? It'll be worse. You
mentioned the unhoused population. You yourself were homeless. You also came down with COVID-19 not once but twice. Quickly tell us about you. What brought you here, how you got here, your history.
Yeah, I grew up in a household that my father's been in politics for most of my life. Love my dad, but I saw so many things, so much corruption and things just coming at him as he was trying to serve the community. So I said I would never do politics, went into ministry and went through so many things just personally, sexual assault, domestic violence, being a low-wage worker. I was also uninsured, had times when I was unhoused. At one point I was unhoused with 2 babies, mixing formula in a fast food restaurant bathroom, but I kept going. There was somebody who said, Cori, this is a way to help. What can I do? And so I was able to come out of some of those situations. And so I want to be able to give that back and help other people because there was somebody that helped me, but it was not our congressperson. It was not the work necessarily that was being done that I felt could have been done from through legislation. It was just people reaching out. And so now I'm here to say, look, somebody help me, so let me be that someone to help someone else. But I will not sit by and be quiet, while we have these systems of injustice going on in our communities. And so if people want me to tear something down, I'll tear down corruption and greed and injustice and racist systems.
What do you want to hear, Cori Bush, from your party's convention this week that begins tonight?
First of all, I wish I was hearing that we had, I wish Medicare for All was on the, was on the platform. It's sad that
you've been without health insurance when you were running for Congress?
I'm without health insurance right now. And even when I went through my COVID-19 situation, that lasted me 2 months. I was hospitalized twice, and my bills are stacking up right now. And so we have to do better for our people. We can't, when 33% of people, can't get the resources that they need for health care, when we know that 60,000 people could die, a year not having health care. That's important. And it's important to me. And how do we build equity? How do we build racial equity without addressing that and addressing it properly? So I would have loved to hear that. But I would also love to hear, we may not have it all together right now, but let us get into this seat and we're going to start having these conversations and doing some things differently. We hear you. That's what I want to hear. We hear you. We've made some changes as far as the climate crisis and that platform. We've made some changes in other places. Yes, we want to make sure that we stand with the Voting Rights Act and all of that. Absolutely, I do stand with those things. But we cannot allow people to die.
Cori Bush, I want to thank you so much for being with us. A nurse, Black Lives Matter activist who defeated 10-term Congressmember Lacy Clay in the Democratic primary earlier this month in Missouri's 1st congressional district. Clay and his father, Bill Clay, have been Congress members representing that area since 1969. Cori Bush is a formerly unhoused woman who helped lead protests in Ferguson after the police shooting of 18-year-old Michael Brown. Her story featured in the award-winning Netflix documentary Knock Down the House, along with AOC. And as we go to the next segment, very quickly, Cori, I wanted to ask you, you've said you want to expand the squad? The squad being, of course, Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. Both of them were just reelected in their primaries. AOC, of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Ayanna Pressley, who's facing a primary in Massachusetts.
Yes, we have to expand the squad. We're bringing, a different flavor. We're bringing our progressive values, and we're standing on what we believe, and we're bringing our experiences. We're not so far removed from the things that the rest of the people that in our districts are facing, and it's happening all around the country. I remember what it was like to have a shut-off just a year ago, with a utility shut-off. I remember what it's like to be evicted. Those things are very close to me, and so I'm going to fight, and that's why we have to expand the squad. We have been in these situations that so many people have faced recently.
Cori Bush, thanks so much, and we're going to be checking back with you.